Hello, it's Ron back with another video, this time concerning one of our favorite topics, drones. Because I cover, drones, GoPros, cameras, all sorts of tech over here, but a lot of people come to me for drones. So I'm going to get you a good drone video tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about the DJI Air 2S. Just released this year in the spring. It's become one of people's favorite drones. It replaced the first Air 2, which came out about a year before, the spring of 2020. So we're going to kind of give it a 6-month long-term review here. I've had a lot of opportunity to fly it this summer, and I've been flying it even more so kind of lately. So I'm going to kind of give you some of my thoughts of impressions, pros and cons, what I think. So so sit back, grab a beverage, grab some popcorn, and we're going to dive right into this. So now we're back here. I kind of got a lineup of some of the drones we're going to talk about. This isn't going to necessarily be a comparison review, but it's hard to talk about these drones without comparing them to some competitors and some of the models they replace. So this one in the lead here is the Air 2S, which I showed you a little bit before, and it replaces the original Air 2. Which came out about a year before this one did. And just to review real quickly, this one came out about 6 months ago in the spring of 2021, and the second generation came out in the spring of 2020, and there was a Mavic Air 1, which came out a couple years before that. Now, both the Air 2s use the same style as controller. Now, I've kind of, I have my label here, so I make sure I'm using a right controller with the right drone, but it's basically the same exact controller for each drone. So we're going to get into some of the differences here, but what I'm trying to make a point here is, size. Now, again, these drones are almost the same exact size and weight, but here is the Mavic, the Mavic Air. Sorry, the prop guard's coming off here, but this is the Mavic 2 Pro. Which is kind of, both came out before both these drones. This drone's been out like 3 years now, but it still kind of holds up well on its own. So that's why we're mentioning here. But each one of these drones, I'll put this in the middle here. Let me put this annoying prop guard back on and just take it off. It doesn't even need to be on. You can see this is, bigger in size and weight than the other two. So these two are, much more portable than the Mavic 2 Pro. I don't know how much, but they fit in a smaller bag, and they weigh considerably less. Now, I know I don't have it on the desk here, but there's also the DJI Mini 2, which is even much smaller than the Air 2. It's a under 250 gram drone, which means a lot in some foreign countries, and in the U.S. it means you don't have to register it. But the thing is, I know a lot of people say the Mini 2 is the most portable, but again, if the 250 gram rule doesn't mean anything to you, and you're already like a Part 170 registered drones anyways, it doesn't really mean a whole lot in the U.S. And you can see the bag. So this is the bag for the. It says DJI Mavic, but this is for the, either they were still calling it the Mavic here, and now they just call it the Air, but the same bag for, both these drones here. And I don't know if it's changed on the new one. I think this is the bag for the older one. But anyhow, this is the size for the, this is the bag for the Mini. And it's only slightly smaller than the bag for the Air 2. So if you're really just looking for compact and lightweight, not a whole lot of difference. I mean, to me, this is the Air 2 is all the compact drone I really need. I mean, I don't really need anything more compact. Now, maybe if you were like hiking 10 miles out in the woods, maybe the weight of the difference. This is maybe about 800 grams versus 250 grams. Maybe that'll make a difference. you know, on a long walk over, you know, some mountainous terrain. And both the Mini uses the same exact controller as this, so as the Air 2, so you won't save any weight on the controller per se. But anyhow, so that's kind of a size wrap up here. That you know, to me, this is enough of a mini drone. That's basically, you know, is my opinion only, or whatever, because the Mini 3, the Mini 2 is, or Mini 1 or Mini 2 is a lot less than this, but this also weighs a good deal less than this. I don't have the specs, but you know, it's easy to feel the difference. Now, so kind of sizes, we've kind of got size out of the way. Now, the next thing I want to mention is one of the big upgrades from the original Air 2 to the Air 2S is this one from like a 1/2-inch quad bear sensor, and this one has the bigger 1-inch sensor. It has the bigger 1-inch sensor, same as the Mavic 2 Pro. Now the big difference is this one has a variable aperture on, and this one doesn't. But this one is you know, 4K. At 4K 30 frames per second max in 4K, where this one can shoot up to 60 frames per second in 4K, and it can actually shoot in 5.3K also, like capped at 30 frames per second. And you'll notice I left the ND filter on this one here, a freewheel ND filter, but this one doesn't have one on currently. Not that means anything. So again, you get the big advantage of the 1-inch sensor over the Air 2 versus the Air 2S versus the Air 2, and the low light sensor will gain you you know, much better in low light such scenarios such as sunrises, sunsets, just cloudy overcast days, and just more resolution overall. So yeah, I mean, the 1-inch sensor in this one, spec wise, is probably, you know, a little bit better than this one. But you know, of course, this one has the variable aperture, and this one doesn't, as I mentioned. And this one also has a digital zoom, where this one doesn't really have a digital zoom. You could just go from 2 different kind of camera lengths or whatever. You can, you know, it goes from like about a you know, like a 20 lens to a 40 lens. I'm just kind of spitballing there or whatever. But you can crop in. It's a crop one. And like a wide, you know, kind of lens choice you can choose in the settings, which is very useful feature. And I didn't explain that very well, but I will explain that more in another video because I don't want to get bogged down here. Now, also too, this one comes with an HDR. You could choose HDR video in this, and not, you know, people say not true HDR, but an HDR-like effect in this. But it's very, very useful, very good at times. You know, kind of like, you know, punches up the color, punches up the saturation, contrast, and it does a good job in a lot of cases. But both these offer what they call HLG, which is kind of like a, you know, almost like a log format where you can go in and you can do some extra you know, work on it in an editor, and you can actually make HDR content that, you know, you can look at on your big 60-inch HDR TVs and so on, and even computers and so on, to have that ability. So it's nice to have the HLG built in for HDR, but you have to know what you're doing to do that. Where you know, this is just a matter of pushing the button to get you know, HDR, not HLG HDR, but just kind of the normal HDR you see on a lot of different things. So that's a, you know, big step up for this guy over this. Into pricing now on these drones here. This one is $9.99 for just a drone. Now the Fly More package, where you get extra batteries and a case and prop guards and all that stuff, that'll be a couple $100 more. I don't know the exact price, but just $9.99 just for the base. And this came out, in fact, I think you can still buy this from DJI and Amazon and such places. This one's only like $7.99 for just the drone. So you're seeing a $200 price bump up to get that, mainly to get that 1-inch sensor on that thing. It's a couple other things this one has over this one, but not any showstoppers. Oh well, here's the big thing. See these sensors here? Hold on here. See the upward facing sensors here that this one doesn't have. So this one, if you kind of fly up, like if you're underneath a bridge or a fishing pier or something like that, it can see it and won't rise up and crash into the top of something. But this one doesn't have that type of sensors. And this even, I think this supposedly even increases the side sensing for the Air 2S. Or I'm going to say 2S at this point, compared to the first Air 2. So if you big fan of obstacle avoidance and you actually depend on use it a lot, this one will be the a big step up. So that's the two big features over this one. 1-inch sensor and the top facing sensors. Another thing here, this has a smaller battery. I don't have the batteries here, but this battery is smaller, but you actually get it, I'm going to say, it seems like you get 5 more extra minutes out of flight time, real flight time, not the specs DJI gives you, but you seem to get almost 5 extra minutes flying this guy than the Mavic 2 Pro, which has a bigger battery. And this guy even flies a minute or two longer than this guy does, I think, because with the extra draw on the power from the sensors and the bigger 1-inch sensor camera and these things, it takes a little more juice from the battery. So this guy you get a couple extra minutes flying out of. So that's kind of nice. But definitely, even though this is kind of a more pro-ish model than these two, this one gets less battery life than the smaller guys. Okay. So move on to photos here. All 3 of these take you can shoot raw photos. You can bracket do brackets of 3 or brackets of 5. Exposure brackets or whatever. So you can pick the best one, or you can combine them in HDR software and get a real nice look from them. This one here will take an HDR photo, and this one will take HDR photos too. Built-in HDR. I mean, you can always bracket your photo and do your own HDR. But this is an HDR button in. But this has a thing called Smartphoto, which is a little bit different from HDR. I don't know that I can't explain it technically, but it doesn't seem to kind of oversaturate and super boost the contrast as much as HDR. Kind of does boost the photo, but it doesn't give you that super dynamic contrast that typically you'll see from an HDR photo from another drone. So all 3 of these take very good photos, and these 2 take really good photos. But this one's good too. We talked about I had the sensors on my note sheet here, but we talked about the sensors already. And I want to, since everybody always says this in these comparison videos, and a lot of people have done these comparison videos of the Air 2 lately, and they kind of, first thing to talk about is how well it flies, and I'm not going to go into a big thing here. This flies very well. It's one of the better flying drones I have. I have no complaints all about the, it flies. So it's kind of short conversation. It flies real good. Don't worry about how it flies. Billy Collins told me recently, about it has a, I forget the specs he said, but either fly vertically vertically and horizontally, up and down or whatever, it's real fast, much faster than say this guy going up and down. So I never really realized that, but it's good to know. But again, flies great. We don't really even need to go into a big conversation about that. One thing I do want to mention, though, is here is the DJI Smart Controller, which came out about the same time the Mavic 2 Pro did. And it almost feels like it's made for this drone. It's really exceptional to fly. You have this real bright 1000 nit screen here, and it just connects directly to the drones. You do not have to put a wire into the smart controller, to connect or anything. And when these drones came out, the Mavic 2 and the Air 2S, both of these did not work with the smart controller right away, but they have brought firmware in that allows both these drones to work with the smart controller now. And at first, it had some lag and some issues with I've never even tried it with the original Air 2, but it will work with this. I've only tried it with the Air 2S, and again, it wasn't the best experience right away. I think it was about around June of 2021 this year is when they got this. June, July, they got working with this. And again, there were some hiccups right away, but they've brought out some additional firmware for both the drone and the smart controller, and now it's a very good experience flying the Air 2S with the smart controller. I mean, some people still complain about some lag and some connection issues. That's not as good as using the standard controller here, but I haven't seen any issues myself. I mean, I don't necessarily always fly, really far away, and I don't fly like in a city where I have a lot of Wi-Fi issues, but in rural flying down to the beach, so on, I have no issues working with the smart controller, so with the Air 2S. So that's a big plus in my opinion, because smart controller is so good to use when it's very bright out and sunny and so on. So so that's some of my pros. And the cons. Okay, you always got to have the cons here. Now I did mention that this one has an adjustable aperture. And that even though this has a 1-inch sensor, it does not have an adjustable aperture. And not that that's a deal killer per se. Most of the time, it selects a very good aperture for what you're filming. The automatic aperture setting, it picks it. Well, it's permanently set on I think one aperture. But what I'm trying to get at here is, I do prefer an adjustable aperture, because when you're flying, like say at sunset, and you're trying to control that shutter speed, and you don't necessarily want to put an ND filter in because you're losing light very quickly. I mean, every couple of minutes you have to make an adjustment. The light's disappearing so fast. So it's nice to be able to manage the light with the aperture and still keep your shutter at the proper speed, so you get that motion blur. When you're doing the 180 roll, as they say, like if you're, if you have your, shutter. I mean, if you're shooting a 4K 30, you want to set your shutter at 60. So, but when you're, sometimes when you're losing light, you got to bump that, that shutter. So it's nice to have bring that aperture that open it wide up, so you don't have to, so you can keep that shutter more in the air where you want to keep it at. So again, not a deal killer, but it is, I still kind of do prefer flying this guy at sunsets and sunrises. So, but this is still fine. Okay, this is a very fast drone. It's a little bit smaller than this, and the smaller drones tend to fly more like sports cars, which is kind of fun. Again, one of the things that makes them fun to fly or easy to fly is they kind of handle a little bit better because they're smaller. But this guy is more like a muscle car. He's faster than this one. Not a whole lot faster, but he is faster. So sometimes you say, well, why do you need all the speed? But like if you're flying real high, 300 feet and up or whatever, if you're not moving, if you don't have a fast flying drone, it doesn't even look like you're moving up there. And again, in just some instance, you like to show a little bit of movement. The faster you can fly, the more movement you can show. And sometimes faster if you have to get out to something, the film or whatever will get out faster, get back faster. So the old guy still has a little bit of the speed advantage here. And this, I kind of talked about the photos before, and one kind of a nitpicky thing, but with both the Air 2s, you can shoot raw photos, but it's only 2 selections you can shoot: just raw or raw plus raw, JPEG plus raw. So when you get back, you have all these extra JPEGs you don't want, because you shot raw. And sometimes, like, if I really do want a JPEG, I just shoot a Smartphoto or whatever, because a Smartphoto only shoots in JPEG, doesn't shoot in raw. So there I have a couple JPEGs if I want to post something very quickly. But I hate to get home, you have all these JPEG files you don't need because you got the raws. And this one allows you to shoot. You can shoot JPEG, you can shoot JPEG plus RAW, but you can shoot RAW only, so you don't get home with all these kind of JPEG photos you don't want. So you may sound like a little thing, but it certainly comes in handy. So anyhow, that's kind of my we'll call it 6 months long-term review of the Air 2S. Hardware-wise, the drone's been perfect. Now, this summer that we had a version of the Fly app. I think it was 1.4.8 or I think I had the right thing. It wasn't a very good version of the Fly app, especially on Android. It gave a lot of guy problems. Even on iOS, some people had some issues with it. I did not see a whole lot with it, but some guys did. So, they did update just recently the 1.4.12, which seems to have fixed some of the issues and also brought live streaming to the drone too for the first time. So yeah, and I think they'll continue to improve it with the with firmware updates going forward. But I really can't say enough. After 6 months, this is a great drone, great mid-sized drone. I mean, not as small as the Mini, not as big as the Mavic 2 series, not as big as the Untitled Evo. So great for travel, but still has a great camera. To get kind of all the photo and video one. I mean, I was talking about HDL, but it does shoot full log video. Or you could shoot, if you don't want to mess with any editing like that, you can just shoot regular video too, just regular color, and just great photos, great video, great photos. I want to be fair and balanced with it, but as you can see, I kind of really like the thing. I know some people tell you, this is the best drone they have. It's completely, replaced the Mavic 2 Pro for them. But I mean, it's still instances where I still, again, I mentioned earlier about the sunrise, sunsets. I still kind of prefer the Mavic 2 Pro more because I can adjust that aperture to keep my shutter speed more where I want it, especially if I don't want to heavily rely on ND filters at those moments, as we discussed earlier. So yeah, so that's it's about a wrap here on this. All right, folks. Well, I hope you enjoyed my my 6-month review of the Air 2S. I'm going to intersplice. You probably already seen. I'm going to intersplice some video, some random video I took with the the Air 2S to give you some ideas and throw a few pictures in there. Which again, you probably have seen all this by the time I'm saying this, but. So if you have any questions, comments, did I miss something? I probably missed a ton of stuff. Did I get something wrong? Put it down below, and I appreciate kind of all constructive comments and criticisms. But I like those thumbs up too if I said something right, in these videos. So don't forget the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel to see more content on drones like the Air 2S, any of the DJI drones. We'll get the Mavic 3 will be coming in soon for review, so we'll be doing kind of like, switching full gears and doing a lot of Mavic 3 content soon. And we'll see all you guys at Spin Up. I will try to do some broadcast, live broadcast, recorded broadcast, any type of broadcast from Spin Up in Austin, Texas for everybody, for folks who can't make it down there. We'll try to give you a little taste of what's going on down there. So it should be a good time. That's coming up on November 6th. So but he'll be here before you know it. So everybody get out there, fly safe. It's fall now, so get out there and maybe catch us some fall colors and, post them up. And, I want to see your videos. So see you on the next one.